You're 34, standing in your own backyard after a storm, watching the low corner hold water like a bathtub. The contractor's quote on your phone says $5,000. 2 decades later, a man who started exactly this way signs papers selling his excavation company for $400 million. Between those two numbers sits a rented mini excavator, $150 a day, and a trailer you back down your own driveway. The machine is yellow, the controls are jerky, and the trench you dig either drains the yard or hits the gas line. Every level of this ladder is the same trade. Dirt for money, priced differently at each rung. The kid holding the grade rod makes $22 an hour. The man who owns the yard full of iron makes the exit. This is every level of running an excavation company in America. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The flooding backyard. You call 811 before you touch a shovel, because the marking paint is free and the gas line is not. You paint a white line down the low side of the yard so the locator knows where you mean. Then you wait 2 business days. Orange for telecom. Yellow for gas, little flags stuttering in the grass across the exact path you plan to dig. You drive to the rental counter, sign the agreement, and back a trailer under a mini excavator strapped to the deck. $150 a day. The contractor wanted the same French drain for $5,000. In the driveway, you grease the pins, top off the fuel can, check the track tension, and stow a long shovel behind the seat. Diesel smells like a job site in a subdivision that has never had one, and the neighbors watch from their kitchen windows. You climb into the seat, thumb the pilot controls, and the boom slaps down harder than you meant. The bucket takes a bite of wet clay, and the whole machine rocks back on its tracks. You go slower. The trench has to fall, a steady drop away from the house, or the water sits exactly where it sits now. You dig, check the slope of the level on a board, and dig it again. You rake the trench bottom flat with the back of the bucket, then lay perforated pipe on a bed of washed gravel. Filter fabric folds over the top so the dirt doesn't choke the holes in 3 years. The spoil pile grows behind you, and you load what won't fit into the trailer. You backfill in the late afternoon and tamp the seam with your boot heel. That night it rains hard, and in the morning the low corner is just grass, dark and flat and draining. A neighbor walks over the fence line and asks what you charged yourself for the job. On the rental receipt, $150 a day against a $5,000 bid, and the difference is 1 Saturday of your own time. You return the machine, hose the trailer, and drive home with your hands still buzzing. The next Monday you sit at your desk and price out what a machine costs to own. Level 2 is where somebody else pays you to hold the rod. Level 2. The groundman. You are the lowest thing on the crew that isn't dirt, and the crew pays you $22.14 an hour. The morning starts with a tailgate talk in the gravel. Hard hats on. Vests still stiff from the box. Somebody walks the marks and confirms the locate ticket matches the paint on the pavement. Then the competent person climbs down and reads the trench, the soil type, the depth, the water, and the lip where the spoil sits. 5 feet is the line. Below 5 feet, nothing goes in without a protective system per OSHA 1926.652. You set the laser on the tripod, shoot the benchmark, and stand in the mud holding the grade rod while the receiver chirps. On the rod. All day, on the rod. The excavator swings, and you learn where not to stand by watching where the counterweight goes. 1 cubic yard of soil weighs about 3,000 pounds, as much as a car. It doesn't fall on you, it fills the space where you were. You sling pipe, guide the trench box down on the chains, and pin it. The box is 2 steel sheets and 2 spreaders, heavier than the truck that hauled it. Then you shovel the trench bottom by hand, because a bucket cannot cut the last inch to grade. In June of 2022, 2 workers, one 20 years old and one 39, died in a 20-foot trench in Jarrell, Texas, and the trench shield sat unused beside the excavation. You are in the box, every time. Ken Simonson, the chief economist at the Associated General Contractors, put it plainly announcing the workforce survey. Most firms are struggling to find enough workers to hire amid persistent labor shortages. That survey covered nearly 1,400 firms, and 92% said hiring was hard, which means the kid who shows up sober and stays in the box gets noticed fast. The operator waves you off the rod and points at the seat. You run the plate compactor over the backfill, sweep the road, and drop the cones in the bed of the truck. You stop taking the vest off in the truck. You start reading the plans over the foreman's shoulder. The customers billed thousands for that day. You made $22 an hour. Level 3 is the seat of the machine itself. Level 3. The operator. You start on a mini, move to a full-size excavator, and end up on a dozer, and the pay lands at $28.78 an hour. Morning is a walk-around. Tracks, fluids, grease points, the hydraulic thumb, and the quick coupler on the stick. You pull the dipstick, wipe it on your pant leg, and read it twice. You grease 14 points before the sun is over the fence. Then you boot up the grade control and localize the site. The mast goes on the boom, the design surface loads, and the screen tells you how many tenths you are high. Cut to grade means exactly that. Not close. The tone changes pitch as the teeth approach design, and when it goes steady, you stop. A full 3-dimensional grade control kit for an excavator runs about $46,595. It replaces a man with a rod, and it does not get tired or ask for a raise. You mass excavate a pad, load trucks over your shoulder without looking, and track walk the machine onto the trailer at the end of the day. You cut a building pad flat enough that a laser will not argue with it. You learn to feel the dozer blade load up through your boots before the machine tells you. The blade fills, the tracks slip a ½ inch, and you feather the stick until it takes the cut. And then the near miss. You are trenching a sewer lateral 12 feet down, and the wall on the spoil side starts to spall. Small pieces first. Then a sheet the size of a door. You swing the bucket, pull the box forward, and put steel between that wall and the 2 men in the hole before the second sheet comes. Nobody says anything for about 10 seconds. Then the foreman climbs down, looks at the box, looks at you, and says, "Do that again exactly like that." Nobody gets hurt. Nobody files anything. You eat lunch sitting on the tracks with your boots hanging over the mud. That afternoon, you go back to work in the same trench, boxed, and finish the lateral to grade. The trench box stops being a thing somebody makes you use. It becomes the reason you can dig fast. Under the National Emphasis Program on Trenching, in effect since October of 2018, an inspector who drives past an open trench is directed to stop. Trench deaths fell from 39 in 2022 to 15 the year after. The boxes are why. You take the union path, and the operating engineers want 6,000 hours on the job, plus 432 hours in a classroom. Total compensation climbs 25 to 35% once the benefits count. A man named Andrew Camarada bought his first heavy machine in 2009, a 1965 John Deere dozer, $3,500, while he was still working at the post office, and dug jobs on weekends until the weekends were the business. You start pricing used iron on your phone at lunch. Not to buy, just to know. Level 4 is where you stop running the machine and start running the day. Level 4. The foreman. You are the competent person now, which means the trench is legally your reading, every shift in writing. Foreman pay in most markets runs $70,000 to $95,000, and the country counts 812,210 first-line construction supervisors. You arrive before the crew. You walk the marks, match them to the locate ticket, and stand where the plan says a water main should be. You unroll the plan set on the truck hood, and it snaps in the wind until somebody puts a coffee cup on the corner. Then the sequence: stage the boxes, stage the pipe, brief the crew, and put the excavator where the trucks can reach it without backing blind. You classify the soil, write the depth, and sign your name at the bottom of the inspection sheet. The inspector shows up at 10. He asks for the daily production report and the soil classification, and you hand him both without walking to the truck. He signs. He also asks who the competent person is, and you say your own name. A missed locate costs about $3,500 for the average gas line repair, and that is just the repair, before the shutdown and the report. Your crew has not hit one. You call the tone in on the radio, hold the trucks, hand dig the last 2 feet across the mark, and the line comes up clean and yellow and whole. The operator gives you a thumbs up from the seat. Matt Pruss runs an excavation company out of Dodge, Nebraska, and when the Platte River flooded, he kept crews on the obligations he had already promised, which is the kind of thing that gets a contractor named in a trade magazine and hired for the next 20 years. You log quantities, close the daily, and plan tomorrow standing in the same gravel. You stop calling the owner to ask. With 92% of firms reporting hiring trouble, A foreman who can run a job unsupervised is the scarcest thing in the business, and you find out how scarce when the owner offers you a piece of the company to stay. You turn it down. Level 5 is your name on the machine and on the loan. Level 5. The owner-operator. You buy the machine. It costs $56,200, and the payment is due whether or not it rains. You buy a mini excavator, a dump trailer, and a used skid steer. And you stencil nothing on the door yet because you are not sure it will last. The work is septic systems, house footings, gravel driveways, small demolition, and land clearing. A homeowner calls, you walk the property, and you price it standing in the grass. Machine time, trucking, tank, stone, and mobilization. A new septic system runs about $6,100 installed, and the percolation test tells you how much drain field the soil can absorb. The perk holes sit open in the yard for 2 days, while the soil decides. You dig the tank hole first thing, set it, run the laterals, and the smell of a fresh opened excavation is the smell of getting paid. You set the tank, glue the T, and backfill around it by hand so nothing floats. Mike Simon started the same way in Derby, Indiana. In 2008, he says, he was working for a contractor building houses when he decided to take the leap and go out on his own. Later, when he shut the construction site down to run nothing but a dirt company, he called it one of the best decisions he ever made. You do the math the same way he did. A one-man dirt outfit in this country runs right around $2 million in revenue at the median, and the median asking price when one sells is $1,090,000. You invoice from the truck, some of them pay in a week. One of them makes you call 4 times, and on the 4th call, he pays in full and hires you again in the spring. You grease the machine at night in your own yard, alone, under a shop light. You stop washing the trailer before you get home. The homeowner who paid $5,000 for a French drain, you are the one collecting that check now, and it takes you half a day. Then a general contractor asks if you can put 2 crews on a subdivision. You only have 1. Level 6 is the answer to that question. Level 6. The site work contractor. You buy a second excavator, then a dozer, then articulated trucks, and you hire the foreman you used to be. The company gets bonded, which is the door that opens public work. You sign a bond application with a personal guarantee on the last page. Prevailing wage jobs, subdivisions, mass grading, and utilities under new roads. Backlog becomes the number you check before revenue. You stop bidding by walking the grass. An estimator builds a 3-dimensional model and prices the dirt by the cubic yard before anyone drives out. The model shows the cut and fill in 2 colors before a track ever touches the ground. The fleet sits in the yard at 6 in the morning idling, and the smell of diesel comes off it like heat. Your name is stenciled on every truck door. You do not run a machine anymore. Greg Rogers founded Plateau Excavation in 1983 and built it into the largest excavating contractor in the southeastern United States, and in 2019, Sterling Construction bought it for $400 million. $375 million in cash, $25 million in stock and seller notes filed with the SEC where anyone can read it. 2 years later, Sterling bought a New Jersey site development company for a base price of $195 million. Site work firms trade somewhere around 3 to 6 times earnings, and the multiple is set by bonding capacity, backlog, and whether the business runs without you in it. Private equity put 453 deals and $31.4 billion into construction in 1 year, hunting exactly these companies. You take a call from a buyer's analyst who wants 5 years of financials and a safety record with no fatalities in it. You have both. Level 7 is the room where they hand you the pen. The due diligence takes 11 months, and most of it is paper. They want the bonding letters, the equipment schedules, and the trench inspection logs going back years. The same forms your foreman filled out in a gravel lot at 7 in the morning. The analysts want every daily report, every soil classification, every signature, boxed and scanned. A lawyer asks whether any of it was ever backdated, and you say no, and it is true. That is what they are buying, not the iron. The proof that the iron ran clean. You sit in a conference room with a lawyer on each side and sign your name where the tab points. You initial the bottom of 90 pages and your hand cramps by page 40. The wire clears on a Tuesday, and the bank calls that afternoon to confirm the number landed. Your knees are finished. 20 years of climbing in and out of a cab took them, and you would trade them again for the same 20 years. You drive home the long way past the first job you ever bid. You still drive out to the yard on Saturdays. The frost is on the counterweights, and the shop light is still on its timer. You know every machine on the row by the sound it makes cold. There is a mini excavator parked at the end of that row, the small one, the size you rented for $150 a day when the corner of your backyard would not drain. It is yours outright now, along with the 40 machines beside it. The $5,000 French drain that started this is the smallest ticket your company would ever bother to bid, the kind of job you hand a new crew as practice. Somewhere across town, a homeowner is calling 811 and waiting 2 days for the paint. He will rent the machine, dig the trench wrong the first time, and fix it. And in 10 years, he might be standing where you are. The company runs Monday without you in it. You back the trailer up to the little excavator, drop the ramps, and load it yourself because you still know how. The ramps bang the same way they did in your driveway. Then you drive it to your own house and dig your wife the garden bed she has been asking about for 6 years. She walks out with 2 mugs and stands in the tire ruts with you. The bed takes 40 minutes and you take 3 hours anyway. The keys hang on a hook by the shop door, and every one of them is yours.